afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gabriel Stefaniak, as it's been said. It's my pleasure to be speaking at the FinWeek conference, actually second year in a row. I come from Branislava, from Slovakia, so born and raised here. But approximately 10 years ago, I made one of the best decisions of my life. I moved to the Baltics, more specifically to Riga. That's the capital city of Latvia. And the decision was good, not because of the political climate in Slovakia at the moment, but because I met my beautiful wife, and we have 2 kids, 2 beautiful daughters. And I really enjoy spending time with them, and I feel that's the best time investment for me personally. And I'm sure most of you have kids, families, maybe bigger kids, smaller kids. And maybe you feel the same, that time spent with them is the most valuable that we have, because time is very limited. And I believe time is one of the most precious commodities that we all have, and we should value it. Today I will speak about time and money in the context of business. And I will try to give you some ideas how you could save some time and money in your business in the context of digital banking, payment institutions, and licensed entities. So let's get into it. Before I will talk about the main idea, I will bring a little context, and I will talk about trends in Fintech. Because I believe that if you want to be successful in Fintech or in any business, you have to be quite good at identifying the trends or seeing the emerging technologies which are coming and use them in your business. So here's a short list of trends that I have picked, and I'm not saying that all of them are going to make it or are the next big thing, but these are the trends which are quite important nowadays. I will start with ESG, environment, social governance, which is sort of an involuntary pushed trend to fintech companies, especially the large ones. And nowadays, if you want to be relevant in fintech and you're a large company, you want to attract investors, you have to take care of environment, social governance. So the way your company treats the environment, your employees, and processes in your company. The next one I would pick is a huge one, cryptocurrencies and MiCA. After the approval of ETFs on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and after the MiCA regulation, this train is really unstoppable. So crypto is really, really growing. There are many players jumping on the crypto bandwagon, starting companies, and there are many people who want to have their own crypto neobank. Which brings me to another one, neobanks. That's a big trend, actually. In the last year, you cannot imagine how many times I've heard people saying like, hey, Gabriel, we want to compete with Revolut. Can you help us? So this is quite common. Next one, super apps. Not really a trend in Europe yet, but in Asia, you have applications which you cannot live without. So you have applications like WeChat, which have embedded payments, embedded lending, investing, and so on. So maybe one day, if the regulation is a little bit less, we will also have some super apps in Europe. We have, of course, AI tools. The previous panel discussed it. ChatGPT used to be a hype. Now it's a trend. People use it on a daily basis. And not only ChatGPT. My brother is working in the startup field in Slovakia, and he sent me a video 2 weeks ago of him speaking perfect Russian with his voice, his lips opening. And I know that he actually doesn't speak Russian, and I do, so it was a pretty surreal experience for me. Cloud is a clear one, allowing companies to have data stored in countries where they have a license, but they can be physically present elsewhere, so it's very, very useful. And last but not least, BAP and BaaS, so banking as a platform and banking as a service. And I will talk about these 2 a little bit later in the presentation. The second very important thing, if you want to be successful, is also listening to your customer feedback and hearing what the customer is saying. Especially when it comes to banking and finance, the customer is very, very demanding. Customer, of course, expects high level of security. He wants the payments to be executed fast, ideally with no fees. So Fast payments are a must. The customer wants the experience to be personalized, the digital banking front end to be customizable, and of course the customer support to be very, very helpful, intuitive, ideally with an app. So in other words, the customer wants you to be Revolut. Now imagine you are in digital banking, or you are providing banking services to your client, or any sort of payment, and so your solution is outdated. So your solution is not up to the current trends and technologies, and your customer doesn't like it. Or you are a newbie, let's say new player on the block, entering the market. What can you do? Well, you need a digital banking solution that is up to the current trends and customer expectations, what the customer wants. I will now go through 3 most common use cases of setups of digital banking solutions that I have come across in the last 2 years, which are very, very common. So the first one, and the most obvious, is mostly for new players. So basically people who are just getting into banking services. And this is so-called MVP, so the minimal viable product of banking, which only contains pretty much accounts and in some cases cards, because the customer really wants to have cards. And if you're talking about the solution itself, it should of course have digital onboarding for the customer to have sort of flawless opening and be onboarded in a few hours. The second most common use case, especially after the emergence of crypto, is crypto remittance companies. So these are companies or payment institutions which are connecting 2 seemingly opposite worlds. So it's the traditional world of fiat and the new world of crypto. So these solutions are tailored for these companies and allowing their clients to be onboarded digitally. And instead of executing payments in fiat, they can upload their wallets, and with the real-time conversion through integration of, for example, Kraken or any other currency exchange, the customer can execute payments in fiat or vice versa, from fiat to crypto. And of course, it comes with the white-labeled front end and back office as well. And the third most common use case, it's something what we call full-scale banking. So this is mostly for experienced players, and it contains not only accounts, cards, payments, but also acquiring, which is very, very good business, especially when you're servicing the high risk, and potentially also crypto. Well, I will continue if you're intrigued. Now, how you can get there, how you can get your digital banking solution or payments provider solution that is up to the current trends and customer expectations. And now I'm coming back to the initial topic of saving time and money. You can develop it, and there are many players who actually have developed their own digital banking solution, so it is possible, and people still do it. And usually, it takes 2 to 3 years to get at least the MVP, and of course, 2 to 3 years of development, that's several millions of euros, either burned or spent, depending on how you look at it. If you're thinking about 2 to 3 years, that's quite a long time. When you're done developing, in some cases, the trends and technologies have changed. So in many cases, you have to invest more and more funds to do some iterations. And that's not even the biggest headache, in my opinion. Imagine 3 years have passed, you are going live. Now you are the only one who is testing the solution and catching the bugs and reporting to the developers. So it's very tricky, and it's being done over and over again. So it's one option. The second option I would like to present in terms of saving time and money is a partnership. It's a partnership with the banking as a service or banking as a platform providers, which I mentioned in the second slide in terms of the trends in fintech. So the banking as a platform or banking as a service solution is, of course, a white label third-party solution that is based on cloud. So it's a cloud agnostic solution, which is white labeled, has a front end and a back end, and allows you to do all MVP, crypto remittance, or full-scale banking solution. We don't have that much time, and I will not go into great detail. I'll just say that every partnership is tricky, and this kind of partnership is sort of like a marriage. It's not that easy to get out, especially when you have kids. So you need to choose very, very carefully. I would like to thank you for your attention. We will still have panel discussion where we can discuss it, and yeah, hope to talk to you during a lunch break.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Now, I would invite our panel members up to the panel. Branislav, BRC, Business Development Manager. There's no, am I reading the wrong paper now? No, this is the correct one. Yeah, there you are. Sorry, you're behind my back. I didn't see you. Adam Zvi, Business Development Marketing Consultant Payoneer. Marina Kapustina, AML and Compliance lawyer at Mountain Wolf Group, legal mind for Fintech. Dr. Stefan Klinge? No, not here. Okay, perfect. Michal Simansky, member of the management board of Blick. This is going to be very interesting. Andrei Farkas, from CEO of Entropy.space. I usually don't read the domain name, but in this case, it's a very interesting domain name. And Gabriel Stefanak, sales executive at Dekta. Please welcome everyone. To begin with, I would like to remind you about the competition we have, that QR code. We will show it after the presentation again. If you scan that QR code, you can win a real gold coin from our partner, Golden Gate. See how few people are in the room. The chance of winning is really great. So if I were you, I would take part of it. We'll show it after this panel discussion as well. And after the last panel discussion today, I will announce the winner. But now over to something much, much more interesting. The panel discussion about current trends in payments institution, European and global perspective. And I think this global perspective is important because we get more and more cross-border payments, not just within the European Union, but across the globe. And there is no reason why a payment outside the European Union should be any more troublesome or more costly than a payment within the European Union. So our panelists probably have good answers to many of these questions. And for example, it's about time, it's about money, as Gabriel mentioned in his speech. So since Gabriel already gave his speech, he will not be the first one up talking, but I will invite Branislav Beer as my first speaker. And he's the manager for Visa, so lots of experience in the payment industry. And as well as my Visa card works almost everywhere in the world, so it's really a global payment solutions, with some exceptions, gas pumps in America, where they ask for a billing telephone number or something like that. That's the only exceptions. So please, the opening statement here of the panel is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So I think where to start, and actually when you look at the innovation, we are talking a lot about innovation, fintechs, but let's look into the beginning of, for example, cards, right? It started in 1950s. Diners actually created paper card. That paper card was a club card. You went to the restaurants, and basically, we call it in Slovakia, you are purchasing na sekeru. We used to. So they invented something better. And basically, if you think about paper card, where it evolved today, you're paying with your phone, you can pay with your face, you can pay with your ring, watches, exactly. So if you think about that evolution, it means that at what age we had which type of technology that enables us to make things faster, more secure, more robust. And there is an element of democratization, because in the beginning, that paper card was for very rich people, right? So you were belonging to a club. Now today, every one of you and everyone on the street has actually mobile phone and can go to a shop and buy goods that and services that they need. So I think this is big element in it, in that evolution. That evolution, in my opinion, is very linked to freedom and democratization of finances.
Thank you very much for the introduction to the history of payments and the paper Diners Club card. And I can only agree with Branislav here. Of course, I can pay with my phone. My daughter have a Visa card, and she had it since she was 12. That is just how it is. But what can we do with the payments in the future? What's the future of payment? And since we have the representative from Blick here, I will invite the representative of Blick to be our second speaker and give us the perspective from Poland and the perspective from Blick. Welcome, Michael Szymanski.
Thank you very much for this. And I'd like to present Blick today in a little bit broader perspective of what we can call alternative payment systems or mobile payment systems, because actually all of them are today mobile. And what we see, and I think it is very interesting and important phenomena, is then in Europe, but not only in Europe, we have many of such initiatives from north, starting from Swiss in Sweden and VIPS in Norway, to the south we have Bizum in Spain and Iris in Greece and many other solutions. Most of them are focused on the domestic market, with the exception actually of Blick, because we are present not only in Poland but also in Slovakia, when in September we, on top of what was already delivered by the former Viamo, introduced the e-commerce payments of Blick, but also we are present in Romania, and we recently received the authorization from the central bank. But what I'd like to underline that there are many of such initiatives which will definitely become also important player and mass in European payments. And just to finish, we see, of course, many such examples in other countries, especially well-known examples in India and Brazil. Thank you.
Very good. Then we come over to Adam Zvi Shattenstein from Israel, business development marketing consultant, Payoneer. So what is Payoneer's view on the future of payments?
Hi. So when Payoneer looked at, which is an American company, it's worth, last time I checked, $3.4 billion. And when they looked into the European market, noticed a few problems. First of all, that the monopoly of Revolut, and then the strategy was to see what the European market needs, especially what European companies need, and to try to give more than the current competition, which is Revolut. And because Payoneer has a much, let's say, stronger logistics capabilities and financial capabilities, the process is still young, but we have a very good feedbacks from the process. Mostly because of the insurance that Payoneer gives on transactions. And their idea is to start with businesses and then to regular people, and to give them in the end a service that is better than the one existed, with better, for an example, you have the ability to call and to speak in English in 24/7 with someone. And we know from Czech and Slovak companies that this is like a main deal. For an example, one of my colleagues had a transaction with Revolut. He was scammed by someone for paying rent. And in this situation, you barely have what to do. You will not also get your money back. With Payoneer, there is insurances that defend you from this kind of situation. So that's the main strategy, is to enter the European market and to provide where there is a vacuum. And so far, we have good feedbacks for it.
So in a sense, Payoneer is competing a bit with PayPal for safe payments, because I can also use PayPal, but the fees are extremely high. But I can guarantee the payments and return on your money if you're scammed.
I don't think that they're a competitive comparison, also because of some problems when you do transactions, and especially for first-time users. For companies, it can be a bit annoying, and from the research of the market, we heard a lot of bad experience in that field. So I don't think PayPal can be a substantial competitor.
Okay, so another question is, every time we do cross-border transactions, even within the European Union, we end up with exchange rates problems. Yes, or costs. I pay with my Visa card, and they charge 1.8% over central bank exchange rates and so on. Okay, so there's an issue. Can one of the more newer payment system provider provide better exchange rates or make it cheaper, or maybe you can have different wallets online in different currencies already, or what solutions do you have to it? That question is open to any of you here on the panel, because I don't know who I should specify the question to specifically.
So in case of Payoneer, they really built a system that you can have all kinds of currencies with also the intent to give the rates in the lowest that exist now in the market. And yeah, if it was a company that we would open together, our ability to compete is not. But because Payoneer is such a strong player, they have the ability to give those rates, and also in all currencies, which, for an example, in the European Union, what is a lot used is with the Hong Kong currency and the Singapore currency, between mostly in B2B.
Yes, of course. If I can just comment here. So I see that the innovation and technology is like a water, you know, it finds its way, you know, it always does. And regarding the price, yes, you're right. Sometimes we feel like, and this was especially in Britain, when the journalists at the end of the holiday season came with the billions of pounds that the British customers paid for using their cards. Nevertheless, no one is actually thinking that actually I was traveling to China, from China I flew to India, from India I flew to Australia and then back, and I still had just one tool to do this. I didn't have to have a pile of cash of Chinese yuan or whatever currencies, right? So the good thing is that then the innovation comes, people who think about the problem and say, okay, we can potentially save the money here and compete with big banks that, yes, probably sometimes they are milking the system. But now we see that, of course, this was the Revolut entrance, right? They didn't pay for marketing. They basically said, hey, guys, we are giving you actually free of charge FX. Now, if I calculate how much it costs me, they are again in the game.
I think in our case, we are the most progressive technologies that we can provide. Mountain Wolf, it's a digital payment provider. That means that we combine not only fiat, but fiat and cryptocurrencies. And in this case, you don't need to care about different taxes, for example, that will come in a couple of months in Slovakia. You can just pay by your cryptocurrencies or your stable coins, or any other alternative payment providers or services. For now, you can buy for cryptocurrencies flats, bicycles, cars, and I really believe that this is the future, not fiat, because fiat is really strictly regulated. Crypto is also regulated, but crypto, not like fiat, it is really transparent. It is the most transparent payment service that you can imagine. Every fiat money, every euro has its own unique number, but no one cares what unique euro you have in your pocket. But everyone knows and everyone can follow via blockchain what unique cryptocurrencies you send from this wallet to another wallet. So it is the most transparent way of payment. And we in Mountain Wolf, we believe that this is the future. Not fiat currencies, not the totally regulated currencies under the total complete supervision of the tax authorities, of the national banks, but really cryptocurrencies for us, we really believe that this is the future of payment, because 10 years, 15 years ago, no one knew or hardly heard what cryptocurrency, maybe Bitcoin, is. Now I think almost everyone at least knows the word of cryptocurrencies. I think even Visa knows what cryptocurrency is. Yeah, or Payoneer knows. So almost everyone. Maybe most of you tried to use cryptocurrencies in your daily lives, and this is the most innovative way of payment. Not payment by rings, not payments by watches or mobile phone, but payments with crypto cards or cryptocurrencies.
Just a quick comment. Definitely Visa knows about cryptocurrencies. By the way, myself, I'm quite a big enthusiast, crypto enthusiast. Nevertheless, we need to go step by step, of course. What we are allowing now is Visa has APIs, and we have a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges as our partners, which allow you to basically use your card and swap the fiat into crypto and vice versa. So this is evolution. I don't know where we go. Maybe this will be a better way. So far, it didn't prove that this is the better way. If you look at the risk is measured by volatility. If you look at the volatility of any crypto, you would not like to buy your house with crypto because you don't know what will happen tomorrow. And if you have money for buying house and suddenly next day you are actually 10% weaker, then that could be risky business. But I'm not saying no, right? I'm saying that, okay, let's see where it goes. Definitely, I do not see it as a bulletproof case.
Okay, I have to, let's say, I understand the Visa because actually I work for a company and we are a principal member of MasterCard. I'm sorry, but yeah, yes, you can. That will be nice. But I worked for a company that made a closed loop scheme, and we had about 200,000 users here in Slovakia. So it was a really nice business. We quit it last year, but I have to say that it's expensive to have this kind of infrastructure, you know. So it's if we are speaking about commission or about the transaction costs, it costs money because you have to be sure that the transaction is safe, that the transaction is good, the money is going from one place to another, etc., etc. And also, last year I was for 3 weeks in Taiwan, and I didn't use anything, just like a Slovak payment card, and it was working without any issues. So that's why it costs some money, you know. And like the market, especially here in the European Union, is already regulated, so the transaction costs can be somewhat high, but it's I think quite low, because now we are making another product that is called MPJ. It's a product that's for meal card, like certain closed loop schemes, you know, and there you can use another percentage, because it's not possible to do it with regular Visa or MasterCard products, because it's too we do not get enough commission from it. So we have to do it on a special product that is not so regulated, that has a chain that is like closed, you know, so it's you can't use the card everywhere. You can use it in certain places. So I understand this, and then maybe I can also speak about another topic.
It's okay. Bring it up now.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I long story short, I work in the space industry, so I have some tech on the low Earth orbit that is working there, And also I have to earn some money, you know, because space is really nice. It's hard, but it's not really good for paying all the bills, you know. So it's quite interesting. Actually, at the end of this year, it looks like the 2 onboard computers that were made by my hands will be flying to the moon. And also, I work in a fintech business. We are making electronic cash registers, and we are providing in Slovakia EFT POS terminals to certain places. We have about 45,000-ish places where our technology is used. And I was trying to, let's say, somehow combine these two things I love, fintech and space. So I'm trying to speak about payments in space, which is quite niche. But as you said, in the 30s, actually, we had before Diners Club, it was a dog tag. It was like the soldiers are using, you know, the metal card, and it was embossed. So if you would like to pay somewhere, you have to iron this dog tag, and it was in 30s, I think, you know. In 30s, we do not have anybody in space. In 70s, we had a couple of them, and last year we had about 19 people in one time in space, you know. So in the next 100 years, we have to speak about some galactic currency, even other companies, for example, PayPal mentioned, they created 10 years ago so-called PayPal Galactic. It was backed by some astronauts, etc., but I think it was too soon because it was before New Space. Now we are flying to space 200 times a year. Back then, 10 years ago, it was some starts, you know, I don't know, up to 10, 20 or something like that. So definitely, as soon as we will have some kind of habitat, for example, in Moon, we have to have possibility how to pay there with some currency for some goods, etc., etc. So we can then speak about it.
Anybody wants to comment on the space payments? Otherwise, I will move on to another topic here. And yes, you wanted to bring something up here, so you raised your hand here. Michal.
Just coming back to crypto, because my background is in economics, so just a remark that it is also a challenge from macroeconomic point of view, because actually central bank do the anti-cyclical job with the interest rates thanks to the national currencies. And if we imagine the free currency world where there will be no national currencies and no central banks influence, that will be totally different world.
I'd like to add one more thing. As far as I know, the tax office only wants euros. I can't pay my VAT with any form of crypto. So one comment I will bring up here is that cryptocurrencies and blockchains are here to stay, no doubt about it. It might be a real competitor when it gets CBDCs, stable CBDCs, then it might become a real competitor to the current payment systems. But as mentioned, these volatile cryptocurrencies, which I can't pay my taxes with, I don't see any wider use of that today. And I don't see, and I'm provoking on purpose here, I don't see why there will be wider use in the near future. So of course the question goes to you, Marina.
Yeah, you can't pay your taxes by crypto yet. So let's see, or let's talk about this in 10, or I don't know, maybe in 5 years. Who knows? And by the way, we have also stable coins. They are not so volatile, and crypto will be regulated in the nearest future. So I think that all the states understand that future of crypto can be really huge. Really huge resources are in crypto. We can, with crypto transfers, we can transfer money to Africa. Some African countries already have their currencies like crypto ones, or to India, from Dubai, for example, to send 100 euros to India, and there are lots of Indian workers, costs much more than just a simple crypto transfer. And this is a really huge market, and so we can say that it's highly volatile, it's risky, with huge uncertainty. Your tax office doesn't accept crypto payments, but really no one cares.
Okay, I see the niche usages here for sending money back, redemption from workers, and so on. But crypto is not money, because crypto is not a unit of account. And as long as it's not a unit of account, it's not money. It could be a means of transaction. It can be a store of value. But one of the three fundamentals is missing. And here the legislator, I don't think they will make any changes to that until we have CBDCs, central bank-backed euros. Anybody want to jump in on this bandwagon before I change the topic?
I think that we're like touching here regulation from different sizes. Also, with cryptocurrency, I know people who are mining Bitcoin 17 years, and they have nothing to do with it. For an example, in Israel, because over-regulation on crypto, especially and taxation around it, made it like this, that I have a friend who has around 200 coins of Bitcoin, you can understand alone. And he has to do trips to different places in the world and to withdraw it there because of regulation. And I would like to inject some, not European perspective into it, that maybe the regulation system, the one that also blocks cryptocurrency, also blocks mostly the customers and the industry to receive better services, better developments. It sits there, and maybe some changing of that of this system will allow also to the more mass use of. And I know that also in Dubai it's a problem when you brought the example to transferring to India. So I do think that the main problem is regulation.
Okay, so regulation is a big issue. I can agree on that. And when it comes to platform suppliers and the ones supplying the technology, how do you see at using crypto as payments? Gabriel, I mean, you're working with payment systems and providing support for the banks and these things. And now, a systems perspective, please.
Well, we see increasing demand for crypto, as I mentioned, crypto neobanks or payment service providers who are getting the VASP license, so Virtual Asset Service Provider license, mostly in Lithuania and now in Latvia as well. So this is like two small hubs in Europe where these licenses are sort of easy to get. So I think as long as there's demand, then the providers of technologies are always catching up, and there are actually quite many, and even I believe some Swiss banks who already provide this service. And I think recently I came across one Croatian company, which is a technical processor for crypto, and they provide crypto payment gateway free of charge, and they just have it available. The code is available publicly, and they have many shops who already implemented this gateway. So a customer comes to a grocery store and they just scan, I think they have a QR code, and the payment is executed in crypto. And I think what is the most important is that it's sort of instant, and the fees are quite low. And at the end of the day, customer, especially I would say the younger generation, they are looking for convenience, and everything has to be just fast. They just don't want to wait. And this kind of solves the problem. So I think it's going to develop more and more. And I understand also Branisla's perspective. I am also enthusiast and using crypto, not only investing, but also other projects. So I see clear development. Everything takes time, and I think we will see this field only developing. There are more and more transactions which are being processed in stable coins, and I think they are catching up Visa and MasterCard transactions. So I'm quite bullish on this trend.
Very interesting. If we look around the world, there are many alternative payment systems. I mean, I don't know if you've been to China recently, but most places won't take your credit card. Most places will not take cash. You need WePay. As a foreigner, without a Chinese telephone number, no WePay. Luckily enough, Alipay can work. That's the only way to buy a meal in China nowadays, is to use Alipay. If you go to India, people don't use paper rupees. They use pay by QR. All over India is pay by QR. So different countries have developed their own different payment systems. And due to the fact that before they only had cash and they never went through the stage of payment cards, they are missing that stage completely to a large extent to a full extent in India and to a large extent in China. So in a way, are we playing catch up here in Europe now, or? Yes, of course.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We see those trends that it's different. Sometimes I feel that it was a bit steered by governments in those countries, right? And of course, because there was not that infrastructure, yes, China do not want to be kind of utilizing, let's say, our infrastructure. They want to be more independent from that point of view. So you can see that there are some influences. Yeah, it is. I do not feel that we are playing catch up. It was mentioned probably in previous panels. What we are dealing with is a very big threat of fraud. Artificial intelligence is coming. Therefore, the risks are higher. So the question is, who has the robust infrastructure that will protect us from those more sophisticated attacks and fraud? So to keep up with those fraudsters, you need to invest a lot. And we already touched on that, right? That the infrastructure costs money. Then on top of it, you need to protect the money. So that all is super expensive. So to conclude on this one, we are going ahead, right? So we see that FIDO, so it's a combination of public keys and your biometric is going to be the next key. Basically, it means that once you're buying something, the public key is exchanged, and then part of the biometric information that is stored in your device and is unique to you. So it's a combination of those elements that are actually creating the most secure part of the transaction. And let's see where it takes us. But so far, so good, I would say. Even we have feeling that there are those unique threats that are coming from AI.
Is AI a threat or an opportunity?
I'd like to
For payments.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the topic.
I'd like to start from commenting on those developments in India or China and the government role, because I think that the important factor here is the sovereignty of payments. So with the rising importance, strategic importance for economy of cashless payments, government started to realize that it is maybe not good to rely just on foreign providers, especially when the country don't have the perfect relations with US. So that's the reason it started from Russia, China, and Turkey and other countries where that was the strategic, let's say, issue. And we see quite openly communicated trend all over the world. So you can find this way of thinking. And regarding AI, definitely there is a risk on one hand related to fraud, but on the other hand, it is used in AML and anti-fraud measures also. So it is similar. My wife is a teacher, so it is similar. The both sides, that on one hand the homework could be done by ChatGPT or other artificial intelligence, and there is temptation to actually verify this homework using AI also. So it is on both sides actually.
I can just confirm what you're saying, working in academics.
Yeah, from our point of view, as we onboard our clients totally 100% remotely, for us AI is really a huge advantage from one hand, but from the other hand, we can all understand that we can't rely on AI constantly. For example, yesterday I tried to find out where one German clip was recorded, and I answered like, "Come on, it's Boynice." But I went in Boynice, and I just wrote to ChatGPT, "No, it's not Boynice Castle. I'm definitely sure that it's not Bonitzer. And the answer was, yeah, it was a mistake. It was in somewhere in Germany, in Neuschwanstein, but I were in Neuschwanstein and I again wrote, like, come on, it's not Neuschwanstein. I'm definitely sure that it's not Neuschwanstein. So it took me 15 minutes. And within 15 minutes, I got, I think, like about 20 different answers from ChatGPT, and none of them was correct because all the castles that ChatGPT mentioned I were. So this is just a simple example that we can't really rely on everything on AI, and AI should be controlled manually by human beings. And I think it is the same not only in such common questions, but in questions about false positive information, about sanctions, about media check, and so many things. So AI is a huge advantage, but only with the common sense of people.
I give a comment on that. I completely agree with what you're saying. However, in fast payments, to detect fraud, you have to detect it in real time. And AI is good at finding anomalies. It might not be so good at searching for what you actually want to search for, but it's good to find anomalies. If you use traditional data mining, you often have to know what you're looking for, or you have to spend a lot of time on it. So AI have an advantage here, finding anomalies in real time. And that is fraud detection systems already in use. So I'm not talking about science fiction here.
I would like to, I think it's very anecdote, tell a story if you were looking for a castle, because that's obviously not, maybe not the right tool. Like when we talk about AI in fintech, it's the tools that are in production or that already exist had a lot of work put to them. They will obviously make less mistakes than people. It's guaranteed. In the other panel, the guy on the video gave some anecdote about bots refusing loans, but a guy can also refuse me a loan or to my friend a loan because she's a single mother and she, on that day, she came a bit into the bank or something like this, and it things that happen in the loan world. So I think that AI will be able to give us a bit more, when it's done well and done responsible, will give us much better result than people can. And it's a trend that already started to go. And if the European Union, countries inside the European Union will decide to over-regulate it or to be over-afraid of it, the train will go, and Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries will control it, and you will have to follow by what they laid out. So that's my fear, because I like Europe, I like Czech Republic and Slovakia, so I wouldn't want the markets here and the fintech companies here to stay back because of all kind of fears from what it will do. The mission should be to adjust it accordingly.
Here I would say that the Visegrad 4 is probably the EU countries, and together with Baltic states and the Scandinavia, we're probably more favor in front of in technology and less in favor of regulation, while Germany, France are the ones standing on the brake and doesn't want to see any changes. But you people working in fintech, you have to influence the regulators. That is really how it is. And if somebody wants to comment on that, that's okay. Otherwise, we move on to the next topic.
I can say from the payoneer experience and what we've gone through, our researchers call it discrimination. What happens from the, especially from more countries that you, when it comes to all of the fintech area, like there's really discrimination when you reach the situation, for example, with Payoneer, when starting to talk with integration with European banks, the atmosphere is really not positive, although it is a huge American company.
I believe that. I mean, we mentioned, Visa mentioned before, we use our Visa card to move money to crypto exchanges, often because the banks refuse to make the transaction. Yeah, Visa doesn't, but the bank does.
But I'm a great optimist of the regulation that's coming, because I really believe that a nice regulation can really help in crypto business really a lot, because first of all, it will defend customer. Customer protection is really important in crypto area, and also I really hope I do really hope that after the crypto will be somehow regulated by national bank, then banks will accept us as customers and will allow us to work in a full extent. If not, for sure we can work with other payment providers. It's not a problem, but it just makes our life a little bit more complicated.
To this regulation, I would just say, regulator has a very simple task, or regulators. They want to protect retail customers. And that's their main aim, right? So whatever they are coming with, they are thinking, how do we protect that customer? That is kind of vulnerable, right? Because imagine there are lots of dodgy companies that are trying to kind of cheat guys when they are doing whatever payments and whatever. So they are just putting some rules. Of course, it's not ideal because it's kind of creating barriers, but let's just keep in mind that whatever they are trying to do is to protect. That's why, for example, business-to-business relationships are not actually regulated. Going to this, basically we are trying to show the governments and the regulators how we see the future of payments. Imagine that in future, the car will make payment, your machine will make payment, your factory machine will make payment, your printer will make payment. It's not gonna be us, because today regulation says everyone who is doing payment, we need to do KYC. So I went to the bank and I say, hey guys, so when printer is doing, how do I do KYC to the printer, right? So yes, we need to speak to them, we need to actually talk and show them how we see the future, so that once they are sitting in the benches, in the parliaments and regulatory bodies, that they will think about it, okay, how the future of payments will look like, so they can adopt the regulation.
Thank you. Now we're switching topic, and the next topic is BNPL, buy now, pay later. BNPL services with explosive growth, particularly among younger customers, by offering point-of-sales credit options for online in-store purchases. However, regulatory scrutiny is increasing due to the concerns about consumer debt and responsible lending. Being from Sweden, well, Klarna is one of the big providers here, but a very traditional provider is always based on card payments in the end of the day. So, having all the fintech people here, and Visa is a great representative for card payments, what is the future of BNPL? Making BNPL more responsible, more convenient, cheaper, faster, better? Very broad question.
Let me give off till my colleagues will kind of get their answer. So, look, I think BNPL, buy now, pay later, is simply credit. It's very simple, right? You can have a credit, you can have a overdraft, you can have a credit card, you can have a BNPL, you can have a whatever, lots of credits, mortgages credit, you can have a line of credit. So in a way, it is that how financial institutions are presenting credit options to their customers. And there are different customers. There are retail customers, there are small businesses, and there are big businesses. Those three categories need totally different type of credits. And so with BNPL, here in Central Eastern Europe, we were struggling to bring standard credit card proposition to be understood. I don't think we are less clever than the Western part of the world. It is basically because American credit cards and UK-based companies were investing heavily into propositions. So use my credit card and get miles. Use my credit card and get a cashback. And so they created motivating propositions that were actually putting people on it. And yes, you're right, there came also negative impact that some people do not know how to manage the credit because they were not taught in the schools how to do that. And so it brought some kind of negative impacts. Now we are trying to solve those impacts by, again, regulation, which says if you see that the customer is in debt for very long, say, hey guys, you have to fix your behavior, right? And these are actually some fixes. But going back to BNPL, BNPL is basically simply giving you credit for free for 3 months, but then eventually, this is not making business, right? You need to convert that customer. Hey, if you bought this holiday, now pay me in installments and pay me some interest. This is about banking. Banking is receiving money on deposits, and lending them as a loans. And this will stay the same. Nothing is changing here.
So as BLIK in Poland, we introduced BNPL linked to our payment method several months ago. And definitely it is catching traction. And I don't think it is a phenomenon which will dominate the market of crediting. It is just another product which it is important to have one. It is linked to a concrete merchant, concrete guard, so it is probably a little bit safer than the general cash credit, which could be spent to anything. Anyway, we are checking the credibility of the customer and his other loans, so there is a safety net not to allow people to over credit themselves because that wouldn't be, of course, good and ethical.
When it comes to this subject, like I come from a country that has it much more used, and it causes harm, especially when you talk about not in the business scope, when you talk about ordinary population, it creates some problems, and when it's overused and not well regulated, it can also cause problems that inflict the whole market. The Americans had in the 2008 also a problem that was relevant to this. What I think with to our topic is that with companies, I know that there is, especially with Payoneer, there is some programs to go into it, but in a very more cautious to the regular population. This will a bit wait, and we'll have to see how it progresses, but there's a lot of care from it.
Still, I would say that BNPL is fairly harmless compared to online gambling and online lending. In Scandinavia, there's a big problem with online lending at very adversarial terms. You download an app and you can borrow 200 euros at 50% APR and these kind of things. Or the online gambling is a disaster for young people in the Balkan region, for that matter. So should we be so afraid of BNPL? Shouldn't we offer that? Isn't it a good product? People can buy something they need now, and they know they will make money in the future and can pay it back.
I think that the BNPL, we were thinking also in this meal card industry about some kind of BNPL to, let's say, borrow some money to have a possibility that the employee can buy some food, for example. But it's not easy to do it because, as we spoke before, it's quite, let's say, regulated. So there are many other options. I think it emerged the most during COVID, so everybody was speaking about BNPL. But, for example, one of the alternatives we are providing to our customers is, for example, early wage access. So it means that you can get your money if, for example, you were working in your work for, I don't know, 2 weeks, you can get your wage at that point, the 2 week that was already worked. And also at the end of the month, you will get the rest of the money, and this way to help somehow to the people. But I think this story is based on use your card because we get money from interchanges. Use our product because we can then have money from payments that you are making to us as a company monthly. So it's, let's say, recurring revenue. So I can have, I don't know, 100,000 customers. They can use the BNPL. They will not use it, but they have a possibility. So they will pay, I don't know, €1 per month for this service. And then I can get more money from the interchanges or another thing. So I think it's just another way how to, let's say, convince people, use our product, use our card, use our, I don't know, infrastructure, use our platform, etc., etc., and I can earn a really nice and recurring revenue type of money that is split it in small fragments, you know, and it's not so risky, you know, because if 20% will leave, okay, it's okay, but that's what I think about this.
Wage day advance loans been around for over 100 years, but they're very inconvenient and very manual. So if you can automate this process, it'll be a great thing. And as you said, if the wage advance loan get paid directly to the loan provider, the credit risk is very small. So there are great advantages and possibilities in this area, obviously.
Yeah, and sorry, and also after KYC, I think we have to have some kind of KYE, know your entity, or know your KYT, so know your tech or something like that. So I think many of these things will emerge. Or maybe KYA, know your astronaut. Okay.
Know your astronaut, that's a good one, yes.
Just a small remark that I think that those short, free of charge loans like BNPL or cards or whatever are really good, because when you look actually what is happening in the cash loans, people and poor people by definition usually, many of them are instantly actually using those credits, and when they receive salary, they pay off the credit just to borrow for the next month, which is a question of financial education, of course, and we'll not go in that. But actually, those products will, at least theoretically, enable them to spare a lot of people, and those people don't have too much money to pay for very expensive cash credits.
Okay, some people are financially responsible. They live as they're rich, and they pay back their debt over time, but they have negative net assets. Yes, that is a fact. But many people are using this kind of credit responsible when they have liquidity issues, which leads me into the following up questions. Aren't these products also perfect in business-to-business transactions? Because here we talk about borrowing working capital instead of borrowing against your net worth as an individual. So in business-to-business transaction, at least I think it's much more palatable.
Yeah, so business is my area, actually. So I'm responsible for Visa Commercial Solutions, which means mainly business to business. And what we see is working capital is must, right? So business cannot exist without working capital. Even, again, if you do the research and you ask businesses how they are utilizing credit, lower you go, the business owners actually claim that they can build their business without credit. They pride themselves that they didn't have to apply for credit in bank. So clearly, they do not understand leverage of credit principle. Because if I'm borrowing from bank for 5% and I'm investing my money that will produce 50%, there's a clear business case, right? So I do not want to have actually business without credit. So through this, I think business-to-business payments are evolving. Where we see the most demand is automation. How business can automate payments. So again, we are getting into the age where my CFO is not actually, or my, let's say, accounting guys are not actually collecting invoices, receipts, combining them with transactions, but everything is happening in the back end, in the ERP systems and accounting systems, and they are just controllers of whatever has happened. So automation is the key here.
I think that when it comes to between businesses, it's a very crucial lifeline, especially to medium and small businesses. Everybody, I guess, in this room that has a business can relate to it. And in that, the idea, especially for Payoneer point of is to be able to give as much as possible according to each client profile. And there is, if to connect it to the AI, there's a lot of development now of very complex modules, also with quantum computing that are supposed to give Payoneer, Visa, whoever is the entity, the ability to also know in a much better range what can be done in front of each specific client.
And I have a question for you afterwards.
By the way, you mentioned really an interesting thing. Why do we trust to the entity which doesn't exist, to a phantom entity? That means business. We can't shake a hand to the firm, to SRO, to S, but we can shake a hand with a person. But notwithstanding this, buy now, pay later is commonly used in a business sphere. When one firm sells something to another one, it's usually in business to pay after 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. But when we are talking about selling something to the person whom we can see in a mirror, we can shake his hand, we can talk to, we think it's really risky. And at the same time, we allow even our state, buy now, pay later. That means return us taxes, for example, later. After accepting the tax declaration, state still has 40 days to return us taxes, and for us it's as well okay. So it's really a tricky question why for ordinary people it's risky, it's dangerous, but for relationship, B2B relationship or B2State relationship, buy now, pay later is totally normal.
I have a comment there for you. As a BNPL, I mean, if you don't want to take the risk, isn't this an investment product so that the one who wants to take the risk and earn a fair return for it? Shouldn't you be able to standardize and package them like any other consumer or business loan? Because, I mean, pledging against invoices has been going on for a long time, but they should be able to, Fintech people should automate it, should make some system for it, so you can make this, and the person or institution who wants to take the risk should take the risk.
It was just about thinking, why do we trust to something which doesn't really exist more than to human beings?
And then I have a question for you from the audience here. What is your opinion on tokenization of real-world assets? Tokenization of real-world assets. Well, I thought about Marina first, but I think about you now.
I will circle back to the quantum computing and blockchain that it might be also something that a bit will change tokenization. It will make it a bit more secured, and but in some cases can also make it more obsolete. Can make it obsolete. Also blockchain. Yeah, like there is already some developments that are using quantum computing that are going towards that way. So I do see that from the fintech world, there will come some solution that will be able to either to bring something new to the table that will make it obsolete or to modify it.
Interesting.
I think it's a cool thing. It's perfect, right? You buy let's imagine that someone actually buys a super luxury flat in Paris, and they basically tokenize it, and you can buy a token of that flat. They will give you the clear business case, and suddenly you can kind of own this kind of asset. So it is about the distribution, and again, all of us are somehow different, right? So someone wants to buy a nice painting, which is tokenized, and I'm buying a bit of that painting. Someone wants to invest this money. So it is kind of opening totally new world of investments and opportunities.
Interesting.
I can answer, yeah, but why I didn't want to answer the very first one, this is because I'm not only working in cryptosphere, but I'm a lawyer. And when we're talking about tokenizing of cars or flats, we shouldn't forget about the rights that should be somehow registered in the cadastre, for example. And it's really nice to own a token and believe that you are the owner of the flat, but are you a real owner? Are you a real owner of the car? So currently, I can't imagine. I understand that smart contracts exist, and we can sell so many things with tokens or via smart contracts. But we should have this paper confirming the transfer of rights from one person who is the owner of the flat to another one of the buyer. Otherwise, it will remain only in the virtual world.
I mean, the Swedish real estate cadastre, it runs on a blockchain, so they should be able to put that into that chain, but you have to pay the 4% stamp fee, of course. So that's an issue. Yes, I see the problem here. And I would like to change topic again. I mean, most of us spend time every month paying our bills, still today. And as somebody mentioned, the most valuable commodity we have is time. I would much rather not having to log into my bank to pay bills and spend maybe more than 2 hours a month paying bills. We have SEPA Instant, but now also comes SEPA Request to Pay. So instead of, I would say, old-fashioned companies still sending me paper invoices or PDF invoices by email, there must be some good solution so we can solve this day-to-day struggle for people to pay their bills in time, not because they don't have money on their account, but maybe they're on holiday, maybe they have something better to do than log into ČSOB or Tatra Banka. How do you see that as payment service providers and visionaries in this area?
Yeah, and one of the members of Finas is basically Doklado, that is actually demonstrating to us how transactions can be combined with invoices and receipts, and how those could be actually executed. So the future is instant, future is automated, so we do not have to spend time on things that are basically just repetitive and not really delivering anything. So I'm hopeful. Me personally, I went to a bank and I said, hey guys, I'm renting a flat here, so I would like to have one account for that flat. I want to have linked my mortgage. I want to have linked my insurances, everything in one. It suddenly was a big problem. So we see that the new fintechs can potentially solve these kind of issues, that they will actually paint how this proposition should look like for us as a retail customers, but also for small businesses or big businesses.
I would just quickly comment that from the technology perspective, everything is pretty much ready. You just have to, the institution which is releasing the invoice, they have to have basically a solution which will enable the customer to tokenize his card, for example, and then the so-called recurring payments. So I'm sure most of you, or some of you, are using Netflix. It is the same essentially, because I open my Revolut, I have my Revolut card linked. I tokenize my card in their payment gateway when doing the checkout, and I don't even have to worry about it. It's automated. I think it's the same way it can be done with the bills.
That works great with Visa and my monthly Orange bill, for example. But I'm talking about other providers, and I'm talking about standardized systems. It's easy, even for small providers, to get online and start doing it. Sure, the big companies have the resources, and the big banks have the possibilities. But what about the smaller banks and the smaller retailers and suppliers?
Already in Payoneer, like in Revolut, it exists. You can, and I think it already also exists on the Czech version. You can already go and automate payments for different, and after you synced it with your Visa, or if you put the money onto your Payoneer account, that shouldn't be a problem, and it can also give you notifications if some problem in the payment changed. Maybe your water bill got had some peak and something like that. So it is going towards automation, and I already have a few bills that I have the ability, and it just goes out every month. So it will go towards there, like especially with strong players that have the ability to invest in it.
So I'd like to add that definitely so-called recurring payments are more and more popular because we have more and more subscription models. It is visible that the alternative payment methods I was talking about at the beginning are introducing that. Not only we introducing that in Poland, but also we see that in other countries. Definitely they will become a reality. I'd like to finish by saying that I have a feeling that the flow of information, the invoice, is a little bit separated from the usually from the payment itself. So several years ago, I was deeply involved in a project then called EBPP, Electronic Bank Presentment and Payment, and as you know, it was not quite successful in majority of countries. The idea was beautiful, that I will find the invoices in my electronic banking and they will be automatically paid. But it doesn't fly, and now actually almost all, if not all, my invoices are in electronic form. I simply receive that in my provider portal.
We're running out of time, so from the panel, any final remarks, final conclusions anybody would like to mention? You have like 30 seconds.
Less regulation, more innovation, and that's it.
And any questions from the audience? I'm here with the microphone, and I'm very happy to hand it over to you if you have any questions. If not, I would like to thank our sponsors, Ministry of Finance and the National Bank of Slovakia and Visa. Thank you, Visa. Partners, Dekta, Prosman and Pavlovich, EUBA, CRIF, Israeli Embassy, Fumbi, RBX, SK Finance, Bursa Sedeko Papierov, Bratislava. And the expo partner is the Lufthansa Group. They're out there giving away chocolate. That's very nice of them. And the medial partner, FX. Thanks to our partners.